that's one of those things that is still a risky situation for us. So the limit of 50 in having a group, if you have a large enough space, is going to stay in place for at least the summer and the coming months. So that's one limit if we're having parties or celebrations, making sure that we keep the numbers small. That's very important.
Minister Dix, are you satisfied so far about the public's reaction, or whatever the BC Provincial Health Officer, Dr. Henry, and you telling the people every day to follow those rules so we cannot have a more serious situation, COVID-19?
I'm very proud of how people in BC have responded. What we've tried to do in BC is to have relatively few rules, but we needed people to really respond. And if you look what happened in the middle of March, the rules that came down, but also the work that we started to do together, it was extraordinary in BC, really, how people responded to those. And they responded because they cared about their mothers and their grandmothers, their fathers and their grandfathers, their brothers and their sisters, their friends. And they've taken the action that we've needed to take. So we have seen a flattening of the curve. What's also true is that there's still cases. There are cases every day, particularly as we've seen in the last month in the Fraser Health Authority. So we have to continue to keep those steps. Physical distancing, staying apart from each other while we interact and work together and sometimes play together, but staying far enough apart saves lives, and we have to continue to do it.
Dr. Henry, it is a wedding season and Indian weddings are week-long events with several celebrations. Keeping the 50% maximum and social distancing measures in mind, what does a safe wedding celebration look like? And should events be at home or outside?
You know what? Weddings are wonderful, joyful celebrations, and they're important events in our lives. But we have to do them differently in COVID times, unfortunately. And that means better to have smaller numbers and make sure that you can keep those safe distances between people. We also need to think about ways of letting people participate who might be at higher risk of getting sick or having severe illness with COVID-19. So that's people who are older, people who have underlying health issues, and finding ways for them to be able to participate remotely so that they're not put at risk. And that's how we keep our families safe. So I think we need to look this summer in particular for weddings, making sure we know who's there. Outside is safer than inside, and if it's a small space, you need to have smaller numbers, and making sure that we can do those important joyful celebrations in a way that keeps people safe in our families, the ones that we love the most.
But
and you know, Dilbar, the people who are most likely to get sick from COVID-19, the people who are most likely to get sick, who are most likely to transmit the virus to, are the people that we love. And wedding ceremonies are extraordinary moments. And like you, I participate in a lot of them. I'm invited to a lot of wedding ceremonies in the South Asian community and many other communities that I can tell you. The one thing we don't want to see happen is the people that we love get sick. And we certainly don't want to see it happen in a joyous wedding ceremony. So that's why it's really important a maximum of 50, but as well, it's not a maximum of 50 or physical distancing, it's a maximum of 50 people and physical distancing.
But Minister Dix, there are events are happening regarding the Indian weddings. We can see lots of viral videos on social media. People having get-togethers more than 50 and there's no social distancing. Are you guys aware of that?
Well, what I am aware of are two things. One is that overwhelmingly people are following the rules. Overwhelmingly they are, and we know this. We know that this has made a huge difference for many people in the South Asian community and in all communities. That yes, sometimes people don't follow the rules, but overwhelmingly they are, and we want to encourage people. And I think it's what I said before, Dilbert. Ultimately, if you're not following the rules, and the result is someone gets sick, it's going to be someone you know and someone you love. So we have to focus in now. This isn't what it was like before. This is a new normal. We need to continue, of course, to have weddings and continue to work, but we have to do it safely. And that means the rules are clear. No more than 50 people for gatherings, and we've got to maintain our physical distancing. And if some people haven't followed the rules, well, I invite them to rejoin the rest of us who are and to follow it, because it's really important right now. And you see it in the Fraser Health Authority. That's where we have the most cases, for example, and that's where it's most important, not less important, more important to follow the rules right now.
And I will say as well, we have seen some of these family gatherings where people have inadvertently brought the virus in, and it is their family and their close friends who are getting sick. So that's our task, all of us, through the next few months, is to do what we need to do. We know that there are many essential workers, whether it's healthcare workers, grocery store workers, people who are truckers who are bringing essential products back and forth across the border, and we are at risk. So we thank everybody for doing the work that they're doing, but we all have to be careful about making sure we're not bringing that into our family and our loved ones.
Dr. Henry, when we're talking about the wedding celebrations, there's lots of communal food and dancing as well. Should this be axed altogether, or is there a way of going about it safely?
I think there's ways of going about it safely. So, you know, if you're in your family group can dance together. They're the people that you have contact with. But we want to make sure that that's not too large, and that we're making sure that anybody who's feeling unwell does not go. And then for food, there's ways that you can do that safely as well. We can apportion it out so that people aren't using the same containers, making sure that they're not exchanging and clustering close together at a buffet, for example. And we've seen many ways that people have been able to do this and still have those celebrations.
What are the rules for places of worship? What people should keep in mind when they go for prayers?
You know, we've had a number of meetings with faith leaders from all faiths around the province, and I'm also very grateful for the leadership that they've shown and how to help people have those very important celebrations and prayers in a way that is safe for people. So again, we look at smaller numbers and having space between people, and the 50 is the limit for if your space is big enough to have 50 people together. But those are things that we have seen people doing really effectively, and being able to include people even with the limitations on actually being physically together. We can be spiritually together without having to be together physically.
And I'm especially proud, Dilber, the many people I know, people of faith in the Sikh community and other communities, who've continued to support one another in these times. And they're following the rules. They're figuring out ways to do it within the limit of 50. And I think this is a real tribute. And that's why we've regularly met with communities of faith, with leaders of communities across religions, to talk about this and to hear about all the amazing things they're doing. So I'm very proud of how our communities of faith have responded, in particular the Sikh community. The challenge is we have to continue to do it for the months to come in order to keep one another safe. And I'm very proud of what community of faiths are doing. We just have to keep doing it for some time into the future.
Minister Dix, lots of gurdwaras and temples are open for worship. Their managements have all the safety plans in place, but I noticed personally some people are not following the rules. How concerned are you about people not following the rules or precautions, whatever you guys are saying?
Look, we just have to continue to do this work, because it's a new normal. It's a major change in the way that we function, the way we function at temple, the way we function at church, the way we function in community. All of that has to change. And so I know it's frustrating for some people who are following the rules, the overwhelming majority of people who are following the rules, to see some people who aren't. And my message to anyone who isn't is, it's time to just rejoin the effort, to rejoin other people. This is what I said before. If you don't, the people most likely to suffer as a result are yourself, but also the people you love. And I think people should do the right thing for the people they love.
Is there any chances if people are not following the rules, those places can be shut down?
Well, remember, these are provincial health orders, but what we're trying to do is convince and work with people to see that they do follow the rules that are in all of our interests, right? To follow, and there aren't that many orders in place. The limit on 50 for gatherings, that's really important. That's really important to limit transmission. Issues like physical distancing, that's really important to keep ourselves safe so we can work together. But we actually have tried, and I think Dr. Henry has done just an extraordinary job in having not too many rules, but important ones. Those are the important rules, and it's really important to follow them.
Dr. Henry,
You know, I will say that most people are following the rules. And as Minister Dick said, if you have been bending those rules, now's the time to understand why we need to do this, to protect those that we're closest with and those that we love. And it's not forever, but it is for now. And it is something that we need to support each other in doing for the foreseeable months and maybe even a year.
let's go back to the temple issue. We have learned that some members of the Sikh community in Abbotsford were sent letters from Fraser Health about someone testing positive at a Sikh temple. That note is spreading on social media and WhatsApp. Are they concerned from both your points of view?
So I can say that that is how we work in public health, that anybody who has concerns is notified and given the information they need. But it goes back to what we were talking about, how important it is to take those precautions in our places of worship. So in a temple, smaller numbers of people, keeping the distance means that we keep each other safe. Because this letter, again, goes to tell us, remind us that this virus is still in our communities, and that's why these safety measures still need to be applied.
And remember, between 2,000 and 3,000 people have tested positive for COVID-19. Dr. Henry presented our modeling and some of the background a couple of weeks ago, and we have contacted people in the tens of thousands during the contact tracing that public health has been doing. And I just want to say thank you to all of the people. Some of them will be listening to your show regularly, Dilber, who work in public health, who have been doing this work. So when there's a case, we do the work. And that work in public health is human beings, public health people contacting people who might be at risk or might be in contact to let them know. That's the work of public health, and I think it's been extraordinary. So what you're seeing in Abbotsford is the work that's been happening since the beginning of COVID-19 by public health people all over BC.
So is there any the fear spreading in the community when you see these kind of notes on social media, Facebook or WhatsApp, things like that?
Well, that is a reminder, as we've said, that there are still people who have this virus and who are, and mostly inadvertently, exposing their family members, the people they're close to. And that's why it's so important for us to remember that this new normal of keeping our distance, of cleaning our hands, wearing masks on occasion, making sure we keep our bubbles small, our household contacts, and if we're essential workers, which many of us are, making sure that we're very mindful of our own symptoms, and if we're feeling at all unwell, to get tested and to stay away from others.